As you all know, my name is Ingrid Shelby Andress. I was born Ingrid Shelby Gimsey. I was born April 27th, 1933. And my parents gave me my first name as my mother's name and always called me by Shelby, my middle name. So I have many initials and many identities since Social Security came in and all these other things. My parents, Al Gimsey and Ingrid Owen, were married in 1930 in Minot. The brief story of each side of the family, my mother's family, Ole and Sophia Owen. Ole Owen came to Minot to be a farmer, came with an ox, a covered wagon, and broke the soil with that one heavy fork. He and his brother or cousin, Seaver, lived together. They first built a sod hut, then a log cabin. And then because they were out in the fields from morning till night, they needed a housekeeper. So they invited my grandpa's cousin, Sophia, who was living with relatives in Mayville, to come and be their housekeeper, which she did. And then the time came that she decided to go back to Mayville. So my grandpa put her on the train, and he got on the back of the train, put her on the front of the train, got on the back of the train, which she did not know. When she was getting off in Mayville, he said to her, "My cupboards are going to be lonesome for you." So he got on the train, and they took the train to Crookston and got married. With regard to my dad's family, the Gimsey family, I don't know what brought Peter and Ellen Gimsey to Minot. I do have a copy of a letter that Pete wrote to a relative here asking to borrow money so that he could come to the U.S. And the letter says, "And I will make it good to you when I'm back." And he said, "And I will need to find me a wife." And that wife actually came over from Norway, Ellen Haug. My grandpa, as I understand it, had a 6th grade education, and he was trained as a tailor. So in Minot, he opened Gimsey Cleaning and Tailoring, and he made suits for men. That's a little bit of that Norwegian heritage that always fascinated me. When I was 2.5, my little brother Mac was born. At some time in those early years, I remember someone in the family holding a baby and people talking about how much he weighed. So I knew he was born at the candy counter at Woolworth's dime store, because behind the bins with the expensive candy, there was a scale where they weighed the candy, how much it cost. So obviously he was born there. When he was probably 3, I remember the saying he had, "I've got a good ID ting. What you think about it?" And that really has been the story of his life, a good idea and asking people what they think. I loved school, went to grades 1 through 12 in Minot. When I was 12, my parents let me go to a concert of the Augsburg Choir, a concert at the college in the auditorium.
Lord Jesus Christ be present.
I loved that choir, and I came home and told my parents, "I'm going to go to Augsburg and I'm going to sing in the choir." So in 1951, I did go to Augsburg.
Did you sing in the choir?
I did not sing in the choir. I became student body president, and I couldn't do both. There were people who could do everything, but I wasn't one of those. I thought to go into teaching. And I also was interested in becoming a professional ice skater. Not an Olympic skater, but I wanted to be in a skating show like the Ice Follies or Ice Capades. A very significant moment for me was when I was invited to be a delegate to an all-Lutheran youth conference in Hanover, Germany, with young people from the entire Lutheran world. This was 1952, just a few years after the end of the war. I was 8 when the war broke out, and when we would see movie about bombings. We think, oh, good, we're winning the war. Now I saw people living in caves. I saw people living in bombed out buildings with only a blanket for a wall. That completely changed my worldview. And I knew I did not want to go into entertainment, and I also realized I wasn't as talented as I thought. So that part was not hard. It also meant that I met Jim Andress. There were two moments of knowing about him. The first moment was when I was a junior in high school. I came down to Augsburg for a meeting of the National Council, and when I was in the hallway with Glenn Carlson, whose father had been our pastor, this man walked by, white shirt, open, nice slacks, and Glenn told me about this outstanding man at Augsburg, Jim Andress, and how he was a GI there on the GI Bill. Then I met Jim at a national conference before the trip about that I'd been invited to go. A big question was, could I afford it? And I will never forget how he looked me straight in the eye and said, Shelby, I really hope you can make that trip. And I was so impressed with how personal and engaged he was. He also had been invited, but he wasn't talking about himself. He was hoping for the best for me. We went abroad in the SS Oslofjord, New York City to Oslo. I think it was about an 8-day trip. Jim and I learned to know each other. We would sometimes stand out at the deck at night when the water was splashing up and the wind was blowing. And we have a photo when we were in Norway of a hike that we took up a small mountain near Sauda. And we were looking into the distance, I guess. He was sitting behind me. So clearly we were starting to relate to one another, enjoy one another. Because of our age difference and some other differences, even though we really enjoyed each other, it didn't seem possible that we would ever marry. But we did. I was 22 and he was 33. And soon had 3 children, Paul in 1956, Liz in 1959, and Mary Sue was born in Korea in 1961 and came to the U.S. exactly 50 years ago in 1970. One of the things that I realized from my upbringing is that I really didn't know how to talk about my feelings or help them talk about their feelings. And so at one point, I took parent effectiveness training, which helped me peel back the layers of the onion, as they would say, to get at what was going on and to communicate that in what I hoped was a more effective way. But of course, I had to practice on them. And I remember one time, Paul said to me when I was practicing my skills, Mom, why don't you you're trying to use these skills, why don't you just tell us what you think? And I remember saying to him, well, when you started swimming, you first had to use that paddle board. That's how it is with me, learning how to communicate, to say what I'm feeling, what I want, what I need, and then to listen to you better. So you have to be patient with me. What I think was so funny is that Paul became a counselor. So that was kind of my getting even, I guess, that he became a counselor. Liz went into education, and when Mary Sue was 8.5, and Liz and Paul were probably 11 and 13, Mary Sue came into our family. She was a delight. She would go door to door and see if kids could come out to play. She was not afraid to do that. Sometimes she'd come home and say, nobody home, because there was no one who could come out and play. And then when my brother, who had had a bone removed, he had sinus surgery, he had a bone in his nose removed, and he came to visit us along with Jackie, his wife, and she was sitting in his lap, and she decided to, punch him in the nose. And so she put her thumb on his nose, and there was no bone there, and she said, "Nobody home?" So there were a lot of delightful moments with her. I realize as I reflect on everything that I've said here that here I tear up, every one of you is a mentor to me. I watch your lives unfold. I see how you care for others, no matter where you work, whether it's a school or an office or a welding shop or a grocery store or a college. Wherever you are, I see you focusing on people with love, compassion, limits, mentoring, guiding, and creating community. And I have asked my children to help me stay global so that I don't get all wrapped up in a teeny tiny world. And if I lose my wits, but I'm presentable, I would like you to be able to take me to Augsburg and just sit me down among students. That would be my joy. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is read you, in a sense, a poem about my childhood. I am from Ingrid's created beauty in her modest homes, from our 41 gleaming maroon Pontiac announcing its weekly waxing, and Al's basement projects of Shelly Mac sailboat and water skis. I am from up on the hill, stone's throw from ski slopes and tow ropes, and a naughty girl spanking softened by snow pants, from front porch for mud pies, jacks, and jumping beans. I am from kid confronting Bible camp elders about week of starches. I am from prairie sky forever revealing itself, embracing us day and night, vast and personal. I am from violin, French horn, endearing little brother on trombone, and forgiving apartment building neighbors. I am from Owen, and Gimsey and Haug, from breaking tall grass prairie sod with ox and plow, from entrepreneurial spirit in Seven Corners tailor shop, from stoic determination at breaking wild horses, from upholding family reputation and no such thing as feelings. I am from strong Owen women heading west for wartime work, and farm girl mother reveling in waving blue fields of flax, from crisp waffles with butter sauce and chokecherry syrup, and hard-boiled eggs in chili on cold winter Sundays. I am from Oli at 19 with hardtack in backpack, walking to the ocean, and from outrageous blind Aunt Olga, traveling the world solo. I am from those moments of joy in movement and music, from meadowlarks singing us awake to fresh prairie breezes.